Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out Near Protocol. And here we go again. Once more, we got back to this very important support area. But I'm here to tell you this wasn't necessarily something unexpected. In fact, in the previous video, when we were, I think, right around this level, about $2.50, we literally talked about having something like a 10 to 15% move on the downside in order to reach to about, I think it was like a $2.2 level right in here, which was a decent gap that was created as a result of this move up happening way too fast. And I was like, well, okay, I don't really mind if in here we end up having another move down. But not only in here we got a move on the downside, we also, after filling the gap, went like quite a bit lower. Now, I don't really think that at the moment we should actually be bearish in Near Protocol. Having said that though, I don't really mind if I see maybe like another small move down in order to take the lows in here and then start bouncing back like really hard. And I'm here to tell you that my base case does actually suggest we are going to have a great move on the upside. Why is that? You see, if you want to argue that we have hit the lows around this region, maybe this is like a very important support, which in case of Near, we do actually have a great support around the current price action, then okay, off of the lowest low, you have to be able to find a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the upside. This specific scenario is called an impulsive movement. Rules for it are, we should not have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of 5 wave or wave 3 should not be the smallest wave. And in terms of the sub waves, we're gonna have 5 wave up into wave 1 and 3 and 5. Okay, you know what's going on. And for our corrections, we can consider different patterns. Okay, what just happened? Let's just adjust the waves a little bit. There we go. I'm sorry about that one. There we go. For our corrections, we can consider different scenarios. Let's say ABC into wave 4 and maybe a WXY structure into wave 2. Now, here's a very important point. After completing this 5 wave up, even according to the most bullish case, we are going to one way or the other get a bit of a move on the downside. And this is actually why right around the highs in here, we called for a bit of a move on the downside. And we said that is going to be normal as long as we are able to, in this phase down, identify a corrective movement and not an impulse. And well, when it comes to checking the recent move down, that's actually where we are, I think, allowed to have a bit of that. Why is that? Because yes, absolutely, this is in my view a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave off of the highs. But the current move down that we are having in here is also a bit of a strong move on the downside. So you might right now be a bit hesitant calling for a great move on the upside. And I would argue maybe rightfully so. But I would still like to be optimistic in Near Protocol and argue maybe this is actually a rather strong, sharp correction down. And based on that, I think you can consider two different camps. Either you're gonna have, excuse me, let's just go around here, maybe an ABC zigzag, which in terms of the sub waves, we're gonna have 5 down into A, correction for wave B. And by the way, did you actually see that Near announced maybe a bit of a plan for buybacks? I think that can be also a good news when we are right around the lows. So maybe that is going to act like as a catalyst that is going to send us up a little bit. Anyway, I got completely distracted. In another pattern, you can actually argue maybe we are having, since the recent move down in here is like a sharp correction down, maybe a WXY in form of a double zigzag. Here is our first ABC down into wave W, correction for wave X. Let's also call this thing an ABC as well, and then another ABC on the downside into our wave Y. Now, let's go on the live chart and see what is happening in here. So I think you might be able to argue that this is from this point like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave to about this point, followed by a correction up. I'm willing to say this is probably an A, B, C on the upside. And here's a question for you. Are you able to say maybe this is like, I don't know, maybe like 1, 2, 3 correction for another move down into wave 5? And if we are going to get this move, I think we can all agree at that point the shape of our correction, especially I would say timing wise, doesn't really add up with this small teeny tiny wave too, right? That's why I think maybe having like an ABC zigzag is not really realistic. I think we should probably entertain the idea of having a double zigzag, and here is our second A correction for wave B, another move down into our C leg, and this can be from this point A, B, and then 5 wave down to about even here maybe into our C leg, and then maybe like an A, B, C in form of a running flat up, completing the sub waves for again WXY in form of a double zigzag. So as you can see in your protocol, yep, fair enough. Maybe in the short term, we are going to have a move on the downside, like one more move, but I'm really hoping that we are not going to take this important low about $1.7. And as long as we are not taking it, I think we should soon call for a great move on the upside. And that move, hopefully is going to be into a massive wave 3 in order to get a break out of this area, because I'll be honest with you, it is like seriously getting ridiculous in near protocol. And if you don't know what am I talking about, you see, I think it has been a couple of months since we are talking about this important ranging pattern right in here. Now, the interesting thing about this ranging pattern is that right around the range highs, we are having a great resistance area, and right around the range lows, we actually do have a great support area, and breaking each one of them will mean a completely different thing. I would like to actually bet on having a great move up in near protocol in order to break this important resistance, do a pullback, and then get a massive move on the upside in order to, I would say, bare minimum reach to about this region between 5.2 to about $6.1. And as long as we are not breaking this support area, and by breaking it, I'm talking about having a move under it, pullback, and then a continuation of the move down in order to take this important low. As long as we are not doing something like this, I think we should still be fairly optimistic in near protocol and call for a great move up. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in near's chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.